617-779-7937. Text line 37937. It's KJ Late Night. All right, around the NFL, man, the big story is what is the league going to do about this absolute trash roughing the passer call? First, Tom Brady got it, and, people chalked it up as like, oh, there it is, another Brady favor. And like, what is the guy supposed to do? And then last night was absolutely egregious in the Monday Night Football game between the Chiefs and the Raiders, where literally, I think Chris Jones gets on Derek Carr, the $40 million guy, Mac Jones's comp, I'm just kidding, is getting sacked. The ball is loose. Pretty much it's a fumble recovery, and the guy has to come down, and they call it. Like, hello, can we just go to basic rules? Once the ball is in no one's hands, anybody is part of the scrum. I don't care if you're a quarterback or not, because here's my question. If the ball went down on the ground and Derek Carr dived down to get the ball, but Chris Jones also dived down at the same time and put his body weight on him, is it a penalty? No. So why would it be a penalty if there's a fumble and Chris Jones is going for the ball? Now, I totally get what's going on. As I joked a little bit before, but I'm kind of somewhat serious, is when you start having news organizations and mainstream television morning shows that have nothing to do with sports. They would never run another highlight unless it was the World Series or Aaron Judge hitting 62 or a team going undefeated in the NFL. That's the only time they would show this stuff. They're like, concussions? Did you see what happened to Tua on that field last night? Oh, water cooler talk. People who don't like football. Oh, that was just absolutely horrible. And the NFL knows that everybody's watching, considering how the concussion movie was handled and how it was kind of kicked to the side and not really appreciated. Will Smith, you doing this movie. You even got that concussion guy coming back who's saying he doesn't think Tua should play at all anymore. I'm like, okay, brother, you just don't understand the business of football. That's a Tua decision. I mean, he doesn't have to come back this year, but if he comes back in 3 years, he might be a little better. And I think it's just really at a point where the NFL is hypersensitive about anything that sees a foul. Now, what's crazy is in that same game last night on a play that was blown dead, I forgot who the linebacker was for the Raiders. Justin, you may remember the play, where the guy rolled and threw Patrick Mahomes down pretty hard, and it should have been a penalty. And I'm not sticking up for Mahomes at all, but it's like, hey, look, if this is what it's going to be, then you have to be consistent all across the board. And since this is what it shouldn't be, you have to start wondering, like, okay, do you care about the integrity of the game? Because defensive players will tell you all day, the NFL now is just basically about don't touch the quarterback. You can't touch the receivers. Playing defense is harder than it ever was before. You'll see plays and drives where, hey, they didn't get a pass interference and move the ball down the field, stop the clock, and maybe go for a field goal. Like, that's really competition? No. And I think at the end of the day, the NFL has to decide, is it going to be concerned about the loud voices, or is it going to continue to play the game of football, right? Now, is there a way to get players out of the game when you believe they're concussed? They've already made those provisions, and they just have to improve on them. I think people are acting like they don't do anything. It's like, so you think the blue tent is just somewhere where they just go in there and, read a comic book real quick, answer, like, how many shoes do you have on? 2. All right, get back out there.
They also have a doctor up in the sky, like up in the booth, that can call down, stop play, and make sure the player is removed if they believe that he has suffered a concussion.
And people act like these people aren't there. And I think this is what I mean about when the news organization starts getting it. Because social media is so loud and can be obnoxious at times, even though I got tweet quoted in an article today. Thank you. But look, just because the majority of people are loud doesn't mean they're right. Doesn't mean they're right. Most of the people are screaming. It's like, oh, no, they're not even football people. Like, oh, it's just absolutely horrible. I mean, you think for those who follow international soccer, you remember when they started making that move to try and get them to put on like the headgear, because of the headers? Yeah, how's that going? Yeah, Ronaldo running around looking like Peter Cech. No, they recognize that there is a brand that goes along with the game. It's entertainment. It's inherently dangerous. With Tua, it's unfortunate, but let's call it what it is. He's a small-framed guy. He's a bit short, and when things come at him fast, he doesn't see him right away. He just may not have been built to play quarterback.